taken forward between India and Russia. President Vladimir Putin is on a two-day state visit to India. This is day 2 of President Putin's visit to India. He held talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi earlier today. They also delivered the joint statements where different agreements, areas of engagement and cooperation was taken forward. DD India correspondent Amrit Pal Singh would be joining us for more of this. Amrit, we just scanned through the various agreements that have been exchanged between the countries. It speaks much about how the traditional areas of partnership have been consolidated and new areas like tech and emerging technologies cooperation also being introduced.
That's right, Shubhendu. The President said that, the focus, if you look at the agreement signed and the press statements of both sides, Prime Minister Modi and President Putin, the focus clearly was on economic cooperation and investment and also technology. There were other slew of agreements signed, training of personnel and shipping and polar waters, etc. But the main focus essentially was, joint production, labor mobility, trade and investment in each other's countries, and taking the economic cooperation to that ambitious $100 billion, which is not really ambitious given that you already are doing about $70 billion of trade. So by 2030, now over the next 4 years, taking it further. Of course, the two sides would have discussed, India would have put its position of opening of Russian markets for Indian goods so that the trade imbalance can be corrected. Russia broadly is on the same page with India, does not have problems with that. So the focus of today's talks clearly on strengthening economic partnership in already existing areas and adding new areas of technology, of emerging technologies there.
Right.
Shubhendu?
Amrit, stay with us while I also bring in DD India correspondent Akhilesh Suman. Akhilesh, taking forward the conversation we were just having, there is a economic cooperation program till 2030 that has been a sort of roadmap has been laid out. One of the important components is going to be a certain migration agreement where skilled workforce from India could go to Russia and work. Could you shed some light into how this cooperation will work out and what is in it for people of Russia and India?
Shubhendu, as you know that India has been doing a migration and mobility agreement with various countries, and now Russia also has joined in. One of the major concerns between India and Russia was that some of the Indians were going there in Russia and were joining the Russian army, and then their return has become a big problem. So in that way, in background, it was thought that, okay, let us formulate an agreement so that people are going to Russia, they should be in the work for which they are going there. And in that way, it will be a great contribution to Russia because Russia is lacking in some sort of manpower, skilled manpower especially. And if Indian, skilled manpower goes there, 1 million Indian might be used there. They require from various countries. So if this requirement is fulfilled by India, it will be a great contribution to India's unemployment situation. And in that way, I think that this is one of the major, confidence building measures also that Russia is going to believe on Indian workforce, and that will also, give us back the people who go there, the people who go in other countries, they send their money back to India also. So in that way, it will also, good for our own economy. So it is a new area that has been ventured between India and Russia, and it also shows that what type of economy we are moving inside. One of the major examples I will also give you, Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced that India will give free e-visa without any fee. Free e-visa to 30 tourists of Russia for Russian tourists for 30 days and group tourists for 30 days also. So I think this is one of the major announcements because Russians want to come to India, Russians want to travel to India, And if they are getting free visa for 30 days, it will be a good people-to-people contact between the two nations. So both migration mobility agreement and this e-visa thing will contribute to employment sector and people-to-people relations sector also. So well.
Right. Amrit, this visit is supposed to be a bilateral visit, engagement between India and Russia. It was interesting yet to look at the way the leaders addressed the issue of the Ukraine conflict, India reiterating its point and the Russian leadership acknowledging and appreciating India's efforts.
That's right. Prime Minister Modi was very vocal about it. I remember when at Kazan on the sidelines of BRICS, Prime Minister had told President Putin that dialogue and diplomacy is the way forward. He did not use these exact words today, but by saying that we appreciate the peace efforts, we hope that the peace efforts, we support the peace efforts, and we hope that the peace efforts bear fruit. The Prime Minister sending a message again that dialogue and diplomacy is the way to end the conflict and restore global peace. In fact, he said that that's very, very important for moving on to issues that matter to humanity today by restoration of global supply chains, etc. once the conflict ends. And he said that India is not neutral in this, has not taken a neutral stand. India has always taken a stand, which is a stand on the side of peace. So clearly, Prime Minister reiterating India's position that the conflict should be ended peacefully, and the Russian president acknowledging that, saying that since the Ukraine conflict started, I've met Prime Minister, we've exchanged notes on the Ukraine situation, we've spoken several times over the phone as well. So, and today also during the bilateral talks, both sides in their press statements referred that the Ukraine issue was discussed and the early resolution of the conflict should be done. And President Putin agreed with Prime Minister Modi that it needs to be done fast and also in a manner which is peaceful. Shubhendu?
Amritpal, Akhilesh, thank you for joining us with those updates.